People don't come into our lives with expiration dates stamped on their foreheads. We meet someone, a friend, a mentor, a partner, and somewhere in the back of our minds, we assume they'll always be there. We get comfortable, we build plans around them, we tie pieces of our identity to their presence. But the truth is, people are not permanent. They never have been. Think about the friendships you once believed were unshakable, the people you used to talk to every single day, the ones you couldn't imagine life without. Where are they now? What happened? It's not always because of a fight or a betrayal. Sometimes people just fade. Priorities shift. Life moves them in different directions. And yet, we resist this truth. Why? Because the illusion of permanence makes us feel safe. It gives us the false comfort that we can always depend on others, that certain people will never leave. But history proves otherwise. If you look back at your own life, you'll see it. People come and go. It's inevitable. And the sooner you accept this, the less you'll suffer when someone walks away. Take a moment to reflect. Who did you believe would always be in your life 5 years ago? Are they still here? If not, what does that tell you? It tells you that people don't belong to you, they never did. And clinging to the idea that they do only leads to pain. Now, this doesn't mean you should stop forming connections. It means you should stop expecting them to last forever. Appreciate people while they're in your life, but don't build your foundation on them, because at some point they will leave. Not everyone, not always, but enough to remind you that the only constant you will ever have. Think back to 5 years ago. Who were the people in your life? Who did you talk to daily? Who did you lean on? Who did you believe would be there forever? Now, fast forward to today. How many of those people are still by your side? How many of those relationships faded, disappeared, or ended in ways you never expected? It's easy to assume people will stay. We convince ourselves that certain connections are too strong to break. We believe that if someone means something to us, we must mean something to them. But time reveals the truth. People enter our lives when they need something: companionship, support, lessons, or even distractions. Some connections last, but most don't. Not because you did anything wrong, but because life has its own way of shifting people in and out of your story. Think about the people you were closest to in school. At the time, they felt like family. You shared inside jokes, plans for the future, and the belief that nothing would change. But then life happened. Some moved away, some drifted, some became strangers, and at some point you stopped trying to hold on. This isn't about blaming anyone, it's about recognizing that people come and go based on their own paths. Some were never meant to stay forever, some served a purpose for a season, and some, no matter how deeply you cared, were never truly meant for you long term. The lesson here isn't to be bitter, it's to be aware. If you can look back and see how many people have disappeared, you can stop being surprised when it happens again. The reality is, not everyone who starts with you will finish with you. And that's okay. So, instead of fearing who might leave next, focus on who remains. The few who stand the test of time are the ones who truly matter. And most importantly, remember this: the one person who has been with you through it all, the ups, the downs, the heartbreaks, and the triumphs, is you. That's the person you should always prioritize. Success changes people, but not always in the way you think. The truth is, when you start growing, improving, and reaching new levels in life, some people won't celebrate you. They'll distance themselves, they'll disappear, and you'll wonder why. It's painful when the people you thought would be the happiest for you suddenly act indifferent, or worse, resentful. You'll notice how some friends stop checking in, how certain family members start making passive-aggressive comments, how the support you once had turns into silence. Why does this happen? Because your success is a mirror. It reflects back to people what they haven't done. It forces them to confront their own insecurities, their own stagnation, their own fears. And rather than face that reality, it's easier for them to pull away from you. Some people only stay when they feel equal to you. The moment your growth makes them feel left behind, they start finding reasons to resent you. They'll say you've changed. They'll act like you think you're better now. But the truth is, it's not about you, it's about them. And here's the harshest truth of all. Some people were only in your life because of who you used to be. They liked the version of you that struggled, that played small, that didn't challenge them. The moment you start demanding more from yourself, they feel exposed. Success forces choices. The people meant for you will grow with you, celebrate with you, and support your evolution. The ones who were only there for their own comfort will fade away. It's not a loss, it's a revelation. So don't waste time trying to bring people along who don't want to come. Don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable, and don't mourn the ones who leave when you rise, because those who can't handle your growth were never meant to stand beside you at the top. Loyalty is rare, not because people are cruel, but because most people don't truly understand what it means. We assume loyalty is natural, that it comes with time or shared experiences, but the truth is, most relationships are transactional. People stay when there's something in it for them. When the dynamic shifts, when circumstances change, when they no longer benefit, many walk away. And that's what makes true loyalty so rare. It's not given freely. It's not about convenience. It's not about shared history or promises made in the past. Loyalty is a choice, a commitment to stand by someone even when things get difficult, even when they have nothing to offer in return. Most people can't give that, not because they're bad, but because they don't know how. They've been conditioned to seek what benefits them, to move on when things get inconvenient, to prioritize their own needs above all else. And while self-preservation is natural, it often comes at the cost of loyalty. Look back at your own life. How many people stayed through your hardest moments? How many were there for you when you had nothing to give? Those are the ones who hold the rarest currency. The mistake is expecting everyone to be like that. The disappointment comes from believing loyalty is a universal trait, when in reality, it's a privilege, not a guarantee. So, stop expecting it from everyone. Stop being shocked when people leave. Instead, value the few who have proven their loyalty, and most importantly, become the kind of person who gives it, even when the world doesn't. Because in the end, the rarest relationships aren't built on convenience. They're built on a foundation of unwavering trust, and those are the ones worth holding on to. People don't leave because they want to hurt you. They leave because they are looking out for themselves. It's easy to take it personally when someone walks away. You wonder what you did wrong. You replay conversations, analyze moments, and try to figure out the exact point when they started drifting. But here's the truth. Most of the time, their departure had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with them. Humans operate on self-preservation. Every decision, every move, every choice is influenced by one question: how does this serve me? And that's not necessarily selfish, it's survival. Think about it. Haven't you walked away from people too? Not out of malice, but because you had to. Maybe they drained your energy. Maybe they no longer fit where you were headed. Maybe you simply outgrew the relationship. Whatever the reason, it wasn't about them, it was about you. Now flip that perspective. When someone leaves your life, it's rarely because you weren't enough. It's because they were serving their own needs. Maybe their priorities changed. Maybe their circumstances forced them to choose differently. Maybe their journey simply took them in another direction. This doesn't mean their exit won't hurt. It doesn't mean you won't feel abandoned. But understanding this truth shifts the pain. It stops you from blaming yourself. It stops you from clinging to what's already gone. And most importantly, it frees you from the idea that their departure defines your worth. People will leave. It's not a reflection of your value, it's a reflection of their path. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can stop chasing answers that don't exist and start focusing on the people who choose to stay. Some people enter your life like a battery charger. They come in, connect to you, drain what they need, and then leave once they're full. It's a cycle you've probably experienced before. Someone shows up, drawn to your energy, your kindness, your support. They lean on you, they seek comfort in your presence, they absorb your encouragement. And at first, it feels good. You feel needed, important, valued. But then, once they've taken what they needed, they pull away. Calls slow down, messages go unanswered, they drift. Not because they suddenly stop caring, but because they were never there for the long haul. They were there for the charge. It's a hard truth to accept, but not everyone in your life is meant to stay. Some people are just passing through, taking a piece of your light before moving on to their next destination. And if you don't realize this, you'll keep wondering what you did wrong every time someone disappears. But you did nothing wrong. That's just how some people operate. They don't always mean harm, they just don't understand the impact they have. So what's the solution? Stop giving your energy away so freely. Learn to recognize who is there for you and who is just there for what you provide. Pay attention to the patterns. If someone only comes around when they need something, that's a sign. If their presence is conditional on what you offer, that's a sign. Your energy is valuable. Your presence is a privilege, not a free charge station. Start treating it that way. People leaving isn't new. It's not a modern problem. It's not just happening to you. It's been happening since the beginning of time. Look at history. Kings were betrayed by their closest allies. Friendships dissolved over power. Love turned to indifference. People have always walked away when it suited them. They've always replaced, moved on, or disconnected when it was no longer beneficial to stay. Society is built on disposability. Everything in our world is replaceable. Technology, relationships, even people. We upgrade phones, trade in cars, and switch jobs without hesitation. And whether we like it or not, that same mindset seeps into human relationships. Think about this. How many times have you seen someone jump from one friendship to the next? How often do people move on from relationships without looking back? How many times have you done it yourself, not out of malice, but because life pulled you in a different direction? We like to believe that human connections are built to last, but the truth is, most are built on convenience. When circumstances change, people leave. It doesn't mean they never cared, it just means they cared at that time. And when the time passed, so did the connection. This doesn't mean you should stop trusting or investing in people. It just means you need to stop expecting permanence where it rarely exists. Instead of fighting the reality of disposability, accept it. Because when you do, you stop feeling abandoned. You stop wondering why people left. And you start valuing the ones who choose to stay. Because those are the rare ones, and they're the only ones who truly matter. Most relationships are built on unspoken transactions. People enter your life because there is something they gain. Companionship, support, entertainment, validation, or even just a distraction. And as soon as that benefit disappears, so do they. This isn't about being cynical, it's about being aware. The sooner you accept that most relationships are transactional, the easier it becomes to see people for who they truly are, instead of who you wish they were. How do you know if someone's intentions are real? Pay attention to their actions, not their words. Do they show up only when they need something? Are they present during your struggles, or only during your victories? Do they invest in the relationship, or are they just along for the ride? People reveal themselves over time. If you pay attention, you'll start noticing patterns. You'll see who checks in without needing anything, who stands by you when there's nothing to gain, who stays even when things aren't convenient. Once you learn to see through people's intentions, you stop wasting time on shallow connections. You stop giving your energy to those who only take. And most importantly, you start prioritizing the relationships that are built on something real. Not every connection is meant to last. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. And the ones who do, they prove it, not with words, but with presence. Imagine building a house on sand. It might look sturdy at first, it might stand tall for a while, but the moment a storm comes, the foundation crumbles. Why? Because it was never solid to begin with. That's what happens when you build your sense of stability on other people. You feel secure as long as they're there. You feel safe as long as they reassure you. But the moment they leave, everything collapses. This is why so many people struggle after breakups, betrayals, or the loss of friendships. It's not just the absence of the person that hurts. It's the realization that they were holding up your sense of self, that without them you feel lost, unstable, and unsure of who you are. But here's the truth. Real stability doesn't come from other people. It comes from within. Because no matter how much someone loves you, supports you, or promises to stay, they are still human, and humans are unpredictable. They change, they leave, they move on. So if your sense of peace is tied to someone else's presence, you will always be at risk of losing it. That's why you have to be your own foundation, because when you are, no one's departure can shake you. Losing people isn't just about absence, it's about the emotional weight it leaves behind. It's about the emptiness that settles in, the overthinking that takes over, the questions that never get answered. When someone leaves, whether a friend, a partner, or family member, it feels like a piece of you is missing. You replay old conversations, wondering what changed. You ask yourself if you could have done something different. You struggle to fill the space they left behind. And that's the cost of depending on others for emotional stability. When they're there, you feel whole. When they're gone, you feel like something's been ripped away. It's exhausting, it's painful, and for many, it leads to cycles of attachment, heartbreak, and self-doubt. But the hard truth is this: people will always leave, one way or another. Some drift apart, some move on, and some disappear without warning. You cannot control who stays. You cannot control who chooses to walk away, but you can control how much power you give their absence. If their exit breaks you completely, it means they were holding too much of your stability. It means you were relying on them to give you a sense of self-worth, direction, or security. And that is where the shift needs to happen. Because the only way to stop suffering when people leave is to stop anchoring your happiness to them in the first place. If you don't want to be destroyed every time someone leaves, you have to become your own source of stability. That means shifting your foundation from external validation to internal strength. How do you do that? It starts with changing where you place your sense of self-worth. Most people rely on others to feel secure, on relationships to feel loved, on friendships to feel valued, on outside opinions to feel important. But the problem with that is simple. If your confidence comes from someone else, it can be taken away at any moment. Real stability comes when your peace isn't tied to anyone but yourself. When you no longer need someone to reassure you. When you stop depending on external forces to feel whole. So how do you get there? Learn to sit with yourself. If silence makes you uncomfortable, it means you're running from something. Face it. Work through it. Make peace with your own company. Develop self-trust. Prove to yourself that you can handle life alone. Set goals. Keep your own promises. Become someone you can rely on. Detach from outside approval. Stop looking for validation in relationships, achievements, or praise. What you think of yourself is the only thing that matters. Prioritize self-respect over attachment. If someone disrespects you, if they leave without explanation, if they show you they aren't meant to stay, let them go. Without hesitation. When you learn to find stability within, no one's exit can shake you. Because at the end of the day, the only person who will always be with you is you. At the end of every relationship, every friendship, every season of life, there is only one person who remains: you. No matter how much someone loves you, no matter how many promises are made, no one else can walk your path for you. People will come and go. Some will leave quietly, some will leave painfully, and some will leave without a single explanation. But one truth never changes: you are the only constant in your life. So why do so many people put themselves last? Why do they pour their energy into others, neglecting their own needs? Why do they chase relationships while ignoring their own personal growth? Because we are conditioned to believe that prioritizing ourselves is selfish, that putting our happiness first means we don't care about others. But that is a lie. Prioritizing yourself does not mean you stop loving, helping, or supporting others. It means you stop doing it at the expense of your own well-being. It means you recognize that your life is just as important as anyone else's. It means you stop waiting for someone else to give you the love, respect, and security that you should have been giving yourself all along. So ask yourself, if you are the only person who will stay with you forever, why are you treating yourself like an afterthought? Why are you waiting for others to choose you when you haven't even chosen yourself? The moment you start prioritizing yourself, everything changes. You stop settling, you stop chasing, you stop feeling devastated when people leave, because you know your life is full, with or without them. And that's when you finally step into your power. Closure is a myth. It's something we chase, hoping it will give us peace. We tell ourselves that if we just get one final conversation, one last explanation, one clear reason why they left, then we'll be able to move on. But that's not how it works. If someone has already decided to leave, what makes you think they owe you an explanation? What makes you think they will suddenly give you the honesty they didn't give you before? The truth is, most people leave without closure because they don't want to deal with the emotional fallout. They don't want to have a difficult conversation. They don't want to take responsibility for the pain they caused, so instead they disappear. They leave you with unanswered questions, with confusion, with a wound that feels impossible to heal. And that's the trap. thinking that if you just get answers, the pain will go away. But even if they gave you every reason in the world, it wouldn't change the fact that they're gone. So stop waiting, stop replaying old conversations, stop hoping they'll come back just to explain themselves. The only closure you need is realizing that their actions were the answer. They left. That's all you need to know. And now it's your job to move forward without them. Holding on to the need for closure is like carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Every unanswered question, every what if, every replayed conversation adds weight to your mind. And the longer you carry it, the more exhausted you become. But here's what most people don't realize. Closure doesn't come from someone else's explanation. It comes from your decision to stop seeking it. Think about how much energy you've spent trying to make sense of someone's exit. The late night overthinking, the constant analyzing of their last words, the imaginary conversations where you ask them why, as if that answer would change the outcome. What has that energy done for you? Has it brought them back? Has it given you peace? Or has it kept you stuck, drowning in a cycle that only drains you further? Chasing closure is like running on a treadmill. You exhaust yourself, but you go nowhere. The harder you try to get answers, the more frustrated you become when you realize there are none. So what's the alternative? Let go of the need to know. Accept that some chapters end without a final sentence. Recognize that their silence is the closure, because the moment you stop seeking explanations, you set yourself free. Silence is an answer. It tells you everything you need to know about someone's intentions, about their respect for you, about their willingness to be in your life. But most people struggle with silence because they mistake it for unfinished business. They think if something ended without a conversation, without a clear resolution, then there's still something left to fix. That's an illusion. People who care about you don't leave you wondering. They don't disappear without explanation. They don't let you sit in confusion while they move on with their lives. So, if someone has chosen silence, that is their final statement. It may not be the closure you wanted, but it's the closure you got. And you have two choices. You can spend months, even years, waiting for an explanation that will never come, or you can take their absence as proof that they were never meant to stay. There's a reason they didn't say goodbye. There's a reason they didn't give you clarity. And that reason has nothing to do with your worth, it has everything to do with who they are. So, instead of chasing answers, let their silence close the door for you. Let it be the push you need to stop looking back. Let it be the reminder that you deserve people who communicate, who respect you, who don't leave you questioning your own value. Because the moment you accept silence as closure, you take your power back. There comes a point when you have to stop looking for answers and start writing the next chapter of your life. Too many people get stuck waiting for an explanation, waiting for an apology, waiting for the day they finally feel ready to move on. But the truth is, that day doesn't come. Closure isn't something you find, it's something you create. So ask yourself, how much longer will you let someone who is no longer in your life control your thoughts? How much more time will you waste replaying the past instead of focusing on your future? The people who left, the ones who disappeared without a word, they are already moving forward. They aren't stuck in the past wondering how you feel. They aren't spending their nights looking for closure, so why should you? Your life is still happening, your story isn't over. But as long as you keep rereading the last chapter, you'll never start the next one. It's time to shift your focus. Instead of asking why they left, ask yourself what you're going to do next. Instead of searching for missing pieces, start building something new. Instead of waiting for closure, be your own closure. Because the moment you stop chasing the past, you step fully into the future that was always meant for you. Temporary people always leave clues. The problem is, we don't see them until it's too late. When someone walks away, we often look back and realize the signs were there all along. The inconsistencies, the broken promises, the way they only showed up when it was convenient. But at the time, we ignored it. We made excuses. We convinced ourselves they cared more than they actually did. Why? Because we wanted to believe in the connection. We wanted to believe they were different. And sometimes we even feared what would happen if we admitted the truth, that they were never meant to stay. But if you pay attention early, you can avoid that pain. You can spot the red flags before they turn into heartbreak. Here's what to look for. Inconsistent presence. They disappear for weeks, then come back like nothing happened. Conditional support. They're there when it benefits them, but distant when you need them most. Lack of effort. You initiate most of the conversations, the plans, the emotional investment. Words over actions. They say all the right things but rarely back them up with real consistency. The truth is, people who are meant to stay don't make you question their place in your life. They don't make you wonder how they feel or where you stand with them. Their actions show you, without a doubt. So instead of waiting for the disappointment, start reading the patterns early. Temporary people always reveal themselves. You just have to be willing to see it. Most relationships operate on an unspoken exchange. People stay as long as they're getting something they need. The moment that changes, so does their loyalty. It's not always malicious. Sometimes people don't even realize they're being transactional. They think they care about you, but what they actually care about is how you make them feel. Do you provide comfort, validation, support, a sense of belonging? As long as you do, they stay. But when that benefit disappears, when you need them just as much as they need you, watch what happens. Some people aren't there for you. They're there for what you provide. And the easiest way to see the difference is to remove the transaction. Ask yourself, if I stopped initiating, would they reach out? If I had nothing to offer, no emotional support, no favors, no energy, would they still care? If I was struggling instead of thriving, would they still be around? People who truly value you don't need a reason to stay. They don't disappear when the benefits run out, and they don't treat relationships like a one-way exchange. So start paying attention. Stop assuming that because someone is here now, they'll be here forever. Because the ones who only stay when it's convenient, they were never really here in the first place. Loyalty isn't proven when everything is good. It's proven when you have nothing left to give. Anyone can be by your side when you're thriving, when you're successful, when you're the one supporting, encouraging, and uplifting everyone else. But what happens when the tables turn? What happens when you're the one who needs help? When you have nothing to offer but your presence? That's when you see who's truly there for you. Real loyalty doesn't disappear when circumstances change. It doesn't fade when you stop being useful. The ones who stay when you're struggling, when you're lost, when you have no energy left to pour into others, those are your people. But not everyone can give that. Some people are only loyal to the version of you that benefits them. The moment you stop fitting into their needs, they distance themselves. And that's not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their capacity. So instead of being hurt by who leaves, be grateful for who stays. Instead of chasing people who vanish when times get hard, invest in those who remain. Because in the end, the only loyalty that truly matters is the kind that isn't dependent on what you can provide. Pain teaches lessons, but wisdom prevents them. The key to avoiding unnecessary heartbreak isn't to toughen up. It's to learn how to see people clearly before they hurt you. Most of the time, the warning signs are there. People show you who they are through their actions, through their consistency, through the way they respond when things aren't easy. The problem isn't that the signs don't exist, it's that we ignore them. So how do you develop discernment? Watch for patterns, not promises. Anyone can say the right words, but do their actions match over time? Do they disappear when you need them? Do they only show up when it benefits them? Trust how you feel around them. Do you feel at peace? Or do you always feel like you have to prove your worth? Real connections don't make you anxious, they make you feel secure. Test small moments. Stop giving people blind trust. Instead, test how they respond when there's no immediate benefit for them. Do they still show up? Do they care without being asked? Be willing to walk away early. The biggest mistake people make is staying too long. The moment someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The truth is, most heartbreak isn't caused by people. It's caused by ignoring the signs that were always there. So instead of waiting to be hurt, start paying attention, because the best way to protect yourself isn't to close off, it's to see clearly from the start. It's time to change the way you see loss. When someone leaves your life, the first reaction is often pain. You feel abandoned, rejected, discarded. You start wondering what you did wrong, why you weren't enough, why they didn't stay. But what if the truth was something entirely different? What if their exit wasn't a loss, but a gift? Think about the people who left, the ones who disappeared when you needed them, the ones who changed the moment you started growing. Were they really meant to stay, or were they only occupying space that was keeping you from something better? Sometimes losing people isn't about abandonment, it's about alignment. Their departure wasn't a punishment, it was life, removing what was no longer serving you. It was making space for people, opportunities, and experiences that truly match where you're going. But you can't receive better if you're still clinging to what's already gone. So stop mourning those who left. Stop seeing yourself as a victim of abandonment. You weren't left behind, you were redirected. You weren't discarded, you were released. And once you start seeing it that way, you stop feeling powerless. Because the truth is, you were never abandoned, you were freed. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Each rock represents a relationship. Some are light and easy to carry, but others are weighing you down more than you realize. Now, what happens if you start dropping the heaviest ones? At first, you might feel uncomfortable. You've carried this weight for so long that the emptiness feels strange. You might even reach back for the weight, thinking you need it to feel whole. But then, something happens. You start moving faster. You feel lighter, stronger, more free. That's what happens when the wrong people leave your life. You think their absence will break you, but in reality it sets you free. Some people were never meant to be part of your journey long term. They were extra weight. Relationships that drained you, people who slowed you down, connections that made life harder instead of better. And when they leave, you get something far more valuable than their presence, your energy back. So stop looking at their departure as a loss. Start seeing it as relief. Because the truth is, the right people don't weigh you down. They don't make you feel heavy, uncertain, or drained. They lighten you. And the moment you let go of what was never meant to stay, you finally realize you were never supposed to carry all that weight in the first place. There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop needing people to complete you. When you realize that happiness, confidence, and fulfillment don't come from external relationships, but from within. Most people don't understand this. They chase love, friendships, validation, thinking that the right person will finally make them feel whole. They believe that if they can just find someone who stays, who loves them unconditionally, who never leaves, then they'll finally be at peace. But here's the problem with that mindset. It makes you dependent on something you can't control. People change, they leave, they grow in different directions. And if your happiness is tied to someone else's presence, then every time someone walks away, you feel like a piece of you is missing. That's not peace, that's neediness. True freedom is knowing that you don't need anyone to complete you, because you were never incomplete to begin with. It's waking up and feeling whole on your own. It's enjoying relationships without depending on them. It's knowing that even if everyone left today, you'd still be okay. Because when you finally stop needing people to make you feel valued, you stop fearing their absence. And that's when you experience the rarest thing of all, freedom. If people can walk away and leave you broken, then you were never truly whole to begin with. That's not an insult, it's a wake-up call. Too many people build their sense of security on relationships, friendships, or outside approval. They invest in everything except themselves. And then, when someone leaves, their entire world falls apart. But it doesn't have to be that way. The strongest foundation you can ever build is within yourself. When you invest in your growth, your skills, your mindset, when you become someone who is strong, confident, and self-reliant, you stop fearing loss, because no matter who comes and goes, you remain. So ask yourself, what areas of your life have you neglected while chasing people? What dreams have you put on hold waiting for someone to support you? What skills, knowledge, or habits could you develop that would make you unstoppable, regardless of who's in your life? The truth is, people will leave. That's inevitable. But if you've spent time building yourself, their absence won't shake you. Instead of mourning who's gone, you'll keep moving forward, because your foundation wasn't built on them. It was built on you. And when you become the kind of person who doesn't need anyone to hold you up, you'll realize something powerful. You were never meant to depend on others for your strength. You were meant to create it yourself. Someone walked away. Maybe it was a friend, maybe it was family, maybe it was someone you loved with every part of you. And now, you're standing at a crossroads. You have two choices. You can chase them, begging for answers, for validation, for them to come back and make things right. You can spend days, months, even years trying to understand why they left, trying to convince them that you're worth staying for, or you can let them go. This is the moment where you take your power back, because the truth is, someone who truly wants to be in your life wouldn't make you chase them. They wouldn't leave you questioning your worth. They wouldn't force you into a position where you have to convince them to stay. So ask yourself, why are you holding on to someone who already made the choice to walk away? Your life doesn't stop because they left. Your value isn't determined by their decision. And the longer you chase what's already gone, the more you lose sight of what's still ahead of you. So choose strength, choose dignity, choose to move forward even when it hurts, because the people meant for you, they don't leave. And the ones who do, they just made room for something better. Chasing someone who left is not an act of love, it's an act of desperation. And desperation pushes people further away. It lowers your value in their eyes, and worse, in your eyes. It makes you believe that they have something you need, that without them you are incomplete. But that's a lie. Think about this. Have you ever seen someone chase after what's meant for them? Do rivers chase the ocean? Do the sun and moon beg to be noticed? No. What belongs in your life will stay in your life. What's real, what's meant for you, what truly values you, it doesn't run from you. The moment you start begging for someone's presence, you lose sight of your own worth. You hand them the power to decide how you feel about yourself. And for what? Someone who already made the choice to leave? Let them go. Let them watch you move forward. Let them see what happens when you stop seeking validation from people who never deserved your presence in the first place. Because true self-respect is knowing that anyone who walks away from you is simply clearing space for something greater. Confidence isn't built by people staying, it's built by you realizing you never needed them in the first place. Most people think confidence comes from praise, from love, from being chosen. They believe that as long as they are accepted by others, they will feel strong, secure, and worthy. But what happens when that approval disappears? What happens when the people who once lifted you up suddenly walk away? If your confidence is dependent on someone else's validation, it's not real confidence, it's borrowed. And anything borrowed can be taken away. So how do you build confidence that lasts? Stop waiting for someone to tell you you're enough. Decide for yourself. Stop letting someone's absence define your value. You were valuable before they arrived, and you are valuable after they left. Start proving to yourself that you can stand alone. Set goals. Achieve them. Become the kind of person who doesn't need validation to feel strong. Confidence isn't given, it's earned through experience, through growth, through showing up for yourself day after day. So if someone's exit left you questioning your worth, let this be the moment you stop seeking approval and start building unshakable confidence from within. Nothing is more powerful than the moment you choose yourself over someone who didn't choose you. Walking away isn't weakness, it isn't giving up. It's realizing your value and refusing to beg for what should be freely given. Think about this. The strongest people aren't the ones who chase after what's already leaving. They're the ones who recognize when something no longer serves them and they let it go. You have to understand, when someone walks away from you, they are making a choice. And your power comes from making your own choice in return. Do you lower yourself, chasing after what's slipping away? Or do you stand tall and walk in the opposite direction, knowing that what's truly meant for you will never require begging? Your power lies in walking away with your head held high. Your power lies in knowing that whoever leaves was never a source of your strength to begin with. So let this be the moment you reclaim your dignity. Let this be the moment you stop holding on to what already let go of you. Because once you understand that walking away isn't losing, it's winning, you will never chase what's leaving again. What if everything that walked away was never meant to stay? What if every exit was a clearing, not a loss? For too long you've seen people leaving as something being taken from you. But what if their departure was actually a gift? What if the friendships that ended, the The relationships that faded and the people who disappeared were all part of life's way of removing what was never truly meant for you. Look at who you are now. Look at how much you've grown, not because people stayed, but because they didn't. Every person who left taught you something. Every heartbreak forced you to rebuild. Every moment of loneliness pushed you toward a deeper strength. You didn't lose anything. You gained clarity. You gained a better understanding of who you are, what you deserve, and what you will never accept again. So stop mourning what's gone, stop looking back at empty spaces and start seeing them for what they are. Open doors for something better, because what's meant for you will never require you to beg, chase, or convince. The past is done, the future is waiting, and everything that left, it made space for something greater than you ever imagined. At the end of the day, there is only one person who will be with you through everything: you. People will come and go. Some will stay longer than others, and some will disappear without warning. But the one thing that never changes is yourself. And that means your journey isn't about who walks beside you, it's about how you walk forward, regardless of who's there. So walk with strength, walk with confidence, walk with the unshakable knowing that you do not need anyone to make you whole. You do not need outside approval to be worthy, and you do not need to fear loss, because what's truly meant for you will always find its way. This is your path. Own it, walk it boldly, and never again waste your energy on those who couldn't see your worth. Because when you start choosing yourself, you'll realize something powerful. You were never abandoned. You were always being guided towards something greater.